Well, the weapon crafting glitch is pretty much over in Destiny 2, so now we go back to some normal routine activity stuff, and I just wanted to talk about the new episodic structure that Bungie actually put in the 2023 showcase, because I think it would be really good just to have an in-depth look at it. Of course, I'm going to give my own opinions on this as we go, but if you have your own opinions as well, I would love to hear them in the comments below, so make sure you comment as well. But we're just going to take it from the top, from the Bungie article, which was about the 2023 recap. This is going to be linked in the description below if you want to read it for yourself. There's a lot more stuff on here for it, and I'm not going to read out the entire thing. I'm just going to summarize it. So they're basically going to go from 4 seasons to 3 episodes, which is going to have apparently more content. I'll be going over why in a moment. But on top of having the 3 episodes, they will also be split into 3 separate acts, which is going to make the quote-unquote seasons become 18 weeks, and that's pretty much going to have an overlap into the New Year's. But again, I'm sure that's something we're just going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But they also state that basically you're going to have a lot more stuff to do, and at the same time get a lot more rewards for doing it, and including some exotic ships, which is a bit bizarre. I'm not going to say no to 3 new exotic ships though, because it's always nice to get a refreshing look and change it up every now and again. So going into the actual image itself, we have Echoes, Revenant, and Heresy. So these are split up all the way across the year, basically starting the month after. So I've only just realized that actually says March instead of February. So these are actually starting a month after the final Shape DLC, which I'm a bit surprised by. I hope I'm wrong, and it's just because we're going to have like a week break period, if that kind of makes sense. If I'm going to be completely honest, as long as we're getting new content every single week, then I'm not going to complain, because then there's always going to be something to do within Destiny, which was the idea in the first place. But breaking down each individual bit is pretty much going to be the same across the board, so I'll just go with Echoes on this. So when the first act actually drops, we're getting a new exotic weapon as well as a new exotic mission. This also applies to Revenant and Heresy. But then on top of that, we also get things like the new quest line, new story, which is going to be like lore books and things like that, new activities, which pretty much is similar to how the seasons run at the minute, where we get new activities. So I don't know, for the season of the Witch at the minute, we have the Hive rituals and then Savathun's weird tower spire thing. Every act we're going to get new weapons. New artifact mods are actually going to be generated for each one. I'm not sure whether that means they're going to have a new artifact for each act, because that's going to be a bit ridiculous if they do, but at the same time, I think that they might actually let you expand on the existing artifact. And the reason why is literally because of the next thing, pass ranks. Bungie basically confirmed down below that we're going to actually have 200 pass ranks. So literally there. And the way that they're going to do that is pretty much how they're described here. So the first 100 ranks and their rewards will be available during the initial act of each episode. And the second and third acts will have 54 ranks each. So basically, you'll be able to go up to 100 in Act 1, like you would with a normal season. Then when Act 2 drops, you can go all the way to 150. Act 3 drops, you can go all the way to 200. But as you can probably imagine, there are going to be players out there who literally get to level 200 within 6 weeks. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And it looks like I actually missed a bit of information down here. So they actually do mention the artifact perks as well. So the first Act will have 25 perks available, which is a fair few, and then 2 following acts will unlock 5 perks each to make your existing builds go even further. So basically they're saying that they are going to have a total of 35 perks on the artifact, which is actually a little bit crazy. But going back to the image itself, they're also dropping a new set of armor with each episode. So again, seasonal armor, we are very used to this by now. Something that I can actually make a difference of is in Act 2 and 3, there are no armor sets, but everything else is there. So, for example, in Act 2, you get more quests, which you can expect. More story and lore, which again, expected. New activities, which is a little bit surprising, because when it comes to the seasonal activities, we're used to just being stuck with the same one for literally months on end. It does say new weapons as well, so whether they're going to split the weapons across the act instead of like making a full set, I'm not entirely sure how they'll approach that, but if they really want to give us new weapons every 6 weeks, I am more than happy with that. Artifact mods, there's going to be another 5 when Act 2 comes out, like we pretty much just mentioned. And the same goes for pass ranks as well as the rewards. And then Act 3 is basically a carbon copy of Act 2, so it's just going to be a few more stuff. We won't get any new armor sets until the following episode drops, which is a bit sad. I like having more armor. But that is generally the episode structure in a nutshell, I suppose. They do actually have a price point, which I didn't think they originally had. So they do mention, obviously, about if you want to buy the annual pass, it's going to be cheaper, yada yada yada. But if you were to buy these episodes separately, they are actually going to be available for 1,500 silver in the in-game store. So if this actually works out how I hope it was going to work out, and we have a new story mission every single week, then I'm going to be very happy with this change, because it means we're just going to have a lot more content to deal with. But there is 2 things I'm a bit alarmed by. First off is, where are the dungeons and raids? Because there is no mention of them anywhere on this. And obviously, with the seasonal content going over to episodic versions, how is that actually going to affect the raids and the dungeons? Because the reality of it is, if you were to do the same system of where you do a dungeon, then a raid, then a dungeon, it's probably going to imply that we're going to get a new dungeon when the Echoes episode releases. Then when the Revenant one drops, it's going to be a raid. Then the Heresy is going to be a dungeon. And then the DLC will come out, which is going to be a raid. That's if they're actually going to continue making their DLCs, because for all we know, they might actually just say, we're not doing any more DLCs. This is now the episodic structure that we're going to do going forward, and that's it. The second thing I'm concerned about is actually how the quarterly events are going to be managed, because whilst you could have them running alongside, if you're going to be putting story missions into the game as well, I do suppose it gives you an alternative of what to do. So if you don't want to do the events, then you can just carry on with the story stuff. But at the same time, if you don't want to do the story stuff, you can do the event stuff. So maybe it'll work out. But at the minute, it's literally just, it kind of flows into it. So when the story ends, you go into the event stuff. Whereas this structure does seem like it might have them running alongside the stories, which is going to be interesting to see how they play this off. But again, it's just something I'm a bit concerned about, because if you're going to have too much to do in a game, that's not exactly a good thing either. But that's pretty much my opinions on the episodic structure. It's definitely a step in a weird direction. I will probably end up giving this a chance, if I'm going to be honest, because whilst it is very different when it comes to the seasonal stuff, I don't see any reason why I shouldn't at least give it a go. I'm not going to buy the annual pass, I can say that much straight away. I'll literally just start by buying the Echoes and then seeing where it goes from there. But that's going to be everything for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one.